must be a very emotional evening for those, of course, who were personally involved in the story. But I'll let Fachtna tell you all about that. Fachtna Ó Drisceoil.
When I was looking somebody to stand in at 1 hour's notice to launch the book, I knew I could. I knew Blonhead and Coffey was the woman to do it, so Gurmila Mahagat to do it. And Sinead Crowley sends her regrets. She couldn't be here. She was unavoidably detained. I'll just start most féidir three buchas a rawal cúpla duine. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank the relatives of Larry Griffin. Tonight, I'm going to concentrate on the Mayo branch because they're the people who are here tonight. We had the other branch down at Dungarvan. And in particular, Seamus Mulrennan and Mary Finnerty, grandson and granddaughter of the postman Larry Griffin. And I really appreciate that they travelled here from, this is a bit high for me, from Mayo to be with us. Bhil in buchas gawa le Anna Husef an scríbhneoir ahananta I féin a léag dréocht dom a leabhar dom agus thug Anna chúnamh agus Anna chorla dom agus léag tras a harcan dréocht a freisin agus thug she write multi dom. Agus bhil in buchas gawa le Gary McDonagh, my colleague in Cláraic Gaeilge, who was actually the person who first suggested, I hadn't seen him yet, but I just see him at the back of the room, who first suggested actually the idea of the missing postman. I had never heard the story until Gary suggested it as an idea for a television programme, so it was Gary's idea in the first place.
I will have to proceed.
Sorry? Agus, Bhil Gwegs Gawa le Kevin Cummins, a léirigh an clár telefíse the missing postman, den Shras CSI fada. Machlaun, Hain, Gohori Mogrifer Breed, my sister Breed has been giving Patrick from Mercier a run for his money as my chief publicist for the book. And all the team at Mercier who've done such a great job, as I'm sure you'll agree, with the production of the book. Agus Adera and most importantly, Mulvan Kayla, Moira, Maghragal, Agus Mavakin Biog Makdara, Todd Shaw, Arteg, and Boilam Buikas Agawa Doshud. About 2 years ago, a local man in Kilmacthomas said to me, he said, actually in Irish, he said, "Tá scamal os cion an Stradbally miauler an missing postman, agus tá sé fós os cion an Stradbally." There's a cloud, he said. Actually, he said scamal duracha. There's a dark cloud hanging over Stradbally because of the missing postman case, and it's still hanging over Stradbally, he said. On Christmas Day, 1929, the postman Larry Griffin went missing. He never returned home again. The Gardaí arrested 10 local people, including 2 members of the Garda Síochána, the local publican and members of his family, the local headmaster Thomas Cashin, and various other people, including the gravedigger Ned Morrissey. They had a witness from a local man, Jim Fitzgerald, who said he had been in the local pub Whelan's on Christmas night at an illegal Christmas Day drinking session, that a row had happened and that the postman had fallen, had been knocked down, he knocked his head off a stove, and that he was killed, and that all of those present conspired to cover this up and to dispose of the body in secret, because apart from facing criminal charges, they all had jobs to lose, and the choice they made was to cover it up and dispose of the body to save their jobs and careers. They were brought to court, but when the chief witness was put on the stand, he refused to stand by his evidence, and without a witness and without a body, the case fell apart, and all of the accused were released. The Griffin family never got the body to give a Christian burial to, and that's a wound that runs deep to this day. And the doors of Stradbally, they were closed against any strangers trying to inquire about the secret of the missing postman for 80 years. It became a taboo subject, something that was brushed under the carpet, that was too uncomfortable to be talked about and acknowledged. On Saturday in Dungarvan, the local school teacher told me that when she moved to Stradbally 20 years ago, she mentioned the missing postman case in class, and the next day a parent came in to her and told her, never ever mention that again. A few years ago, a local history book about Stradbally was published, and it contained not a single word about the biggest story that had ever happened in Stradbally, a story that made not just Irish headlines, but international headlines. Journalists who tried to write about it were sued. Brendan O'Hare was told to F off out of town, except they didn't say F off. So it was really genuinely a taboo subject, and when I approached this book, Some local people were willing to help me, but none of them wanted their names mentioned. And none of the relatives of those directly involved in Larry Griffin's, in what happened to him, none of them were willing to cooperate with the book. And when this book was being launched, and I was going to go down to Dungarvan to launch it, some people were telling me, half jokingly, that I need security. They were saying that this is going to be very controversial, some people aren't going to be happy about this, and you don't know what's going to happen. Nothing could be further from the truth, I was surprised to find. An awful lot of people from Stradbally came to the launch, and they queued up and they asked me to sign their books, and they said that they were happy that the story was finally being told and that the truth was coming out. And even more surprisingly, amongst the people who queued up and asked me to sign the book were a granddaughter and great-granddaughter of one of those people, one of the accused, one of the people who had been arrested, and a great-grandson of one of those who had been arrested. So what I would hope is that this book will be part of a process of lifting that taboo and making this something that the teacher in the school can talk about as part of local history, and that it's not something that people need to be frightened about. And that it's something, what happened can be acknowledged in the next book of local history that's written about Stradbally. And that maybe in a few years' time, I just should mention that the most important thing for the family still, and I'm sure Seamus Mulrennan will say this in a moment, is that they still hope that the body of Larry Griffin could be found and given a Christian burial along with his wife and put with her in the grave. But I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But I do hope, like I say, that this book in itself, by acknowledging what happened and putting it out there, is in itself a memorial to Larry Griffin. And I hope that maybe in a few years' time, we might come to the point where it'd be possible to erect a plaque or a memorial of some sort in the green in Stradbally, just saying something like, in memory of Larry Griffin, the missing postman, disappeared Christmas Day, 1929. And that maybe that dark shadow that that local man was telling me about might finally be lifted from Stradbally. Gurv Mila Mahagif. So I'd just like to ask Seamus Mulrennan, a grandson of the missing postman, briefly to say a few words.